Hi, I'm Philly and welcome to my kitchen. Thought it was time for us to do another test kitchen on some of these viral food trends we're seeing. Whether you're getting your content from TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, or wherever, we're seeing some of these things over and over again, and I've been often wondering, are they really that good? So today I am going to be trying 4 of my most curious ones, plus a bonus fifth one that I will tell you about in just a little bit. So the first one we're going to be trying is one of those frozen fruit yogurt clusters covered by chocolate. And I have a little way of hopefully amping it up and making it even a little tastier. So we're going to test that out. First of all, it's got a nice top of chocolate there. Second, I'm going to be making a savory upside down puff pastry, and considering it's summer right now, I'm very thankful to have my air fryer to turn on as opposed to my whole oven, which is one of the reasons I love my air fryer. Let me show you what that looks like. I don't know if you heard that crisp on there. Let me give it a try. Third, I'm making one of these cucumber mini pepper snack salads. Apparently it's supposed to be awesome, super simple, so I'm very anxious to try that one out. Let's see. And fourth, I'm going to be trying this mason jar make-ahead noodles, which get turned into soup. Now, I love bringing salads to work. I'm a teacher, but the idea of being able to bring something that I can easily make into some yummy soup during the winter months especially is really ideal. So I feel like summer's a great time to test it out and see if it's something that can work for me once we're back to school. And fifth, the croissant. So I have been seeing all through these trends of people doing really interesting things to these croissants. So today I'm going to be sharing with you what I would do to this magnificent pastry. Stay tuned, as at the end, make sure you don't miss it. As always, I'm very appreciative of your views and support, so please make sure to like, subscribe, and share this content. And if you like this kind of test kitchen approach to these trends or other things, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And let me know one of the things or some of the things that you would like me to test out. Okay, the first thing we're going to start off with are these fruit and yogurt frozen treats that are dipped in chocolate. Now, all of that sounds really good, but I do have some concerns, like how creamy is that yogurt going to be once you take it out from the freezer? So I already had some issues with just literally throwing together Greek yogurt, fruit, and covering it in chocolate. So I think we can make it better with just a couple little improvements. And one of the ideas I got was when I looked up making Greek yogurt and fruit popsicles. And I found really good information on Serious Eats. Now, you know Serious Eats really gives you great advice on the culinary front. So I'm going to be using some of their recommendations in their popsicles and applying it to our frozen treats that we're going to make today. So as you can see, I've washed and I have drying some berries. I kind of like the idea of having something pureed a little bit with flavor, as well as the whole fruit as well. And I'm going to cut those up so that, because a big old frozen raspberry is going to be a little problematic in the mouth. So one of the things I'm going to do first is take these these raspberries, and I'm going to get them cooking so I can make a puree. So let me put these in first. And I'll put a link below for the popsicles that I'm talking about that helped give me ideas of ways to improve this. So in here, I'm going to be adding just 1.5 ounces, 1.5 ounces of water and 1.5 ounces of sugar. But I already have simple syrup because we use this to make cocktails. And so I'm just gonna, since it's already made, just pour that in there. 1.5 ounces. There we go. That's gonna give some sweetness to our mixture there. And I'm using less than they would call for in the recipe because, again, I want to save some whole ones that will give you a little bit bigger bite of tartness. And then to this, they say to add just a little bit of fresh orange juice squeezed, but I actually get this fresh squeezed here in the city, so I'm going to use that. And it's going to be for for the whole recipe, a 1/4 teaspoon. So I'm actually going to just use a scant, an 1/8 teaspoon. I guess this is just giving it just a little citrus hint. So we're really using very little. Then what I thought was interesting is that he talks about adding some salt. Now we know that when we add a little bit of salt to things, it really helps round out even our sweet stuff. So I'm using just a pinch, which is about 1/16 teaspoon of salt, and adding that there. And then I'm gonna put this over heat, let it break down, get syrupy, and I'm gonna strain this. Meanwhile, I'm gonna get these chopped up. So I'll see you in just a bit with all those steps done. Here you can see everything is bubbling away. So we're just going to let this cook, get jammy and reduce a little bit before we strain it, and keep all these extra seeds out of the way. So I'm going to take a fine mesh strainer, dump it in, and then with my spatula here, I'm going to smush all of this in through the strainer so we can get any of the good stuff and leave all of these seeds behind. Okay, so we have the puree cooling in the freezer. My berries, I actually used just my kitchen shears, the ones I use for food, to cut them because they're so tender. I kind of didn't want to break them up too much using a regular knife, and so that worked perfectly. Now we're going to get our yogurt mixture while our puree is cooling. So in here is going to go 1 package of Greek yogurt, and one thing that they say on Serious Eats is to use the 5% if possible. It'll give you a better texture. And again, I want these to be yummy, cool treats, but I don't want them to be terrible. And that's my biggest concern. So I wanted to make these adjustments just to make sure. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to get this out. The Greek yogurt's great because it's thick and creamy. We do want there to be some fat in there. Now, one of the things he does to make sure that the popsicles are very creamy is he adds some cream. Now, I am trying to keep in mind, the fact of having this be a healthy treat, but I felt like for the amount of cream we'll be putting in here, which is 2 ounces, considering the remainder of the 5.5 ounces that's in the Greek yogurt, I thought that would be okay. So I'm just going to put in 2 ounces, and you could try it with less. You could try it with just, 1 ounce and see if that does the trick. So I'm going to put 2 ounces of heavy cream in here, and this will just help with texture, and that's one of the things that I'm excited about. So this could be omitted. If you use something different than cream, the thing that's going to happen is it's going to be more icy. And again, I was kind of looking for something that was going to have some health benefits, be delicious, but also have a good texture and taste good. So I'm just going to mix these together. And then to this mixture, he adds a couple of things just to make this taste really good. So one of them is some sugar, and I'm going to use honey instead. The other thing is just a touch of the orange juice again, which I think is so interesting. And then some salt. And I'll tell you, when I tasted that puree before I put it in the freezer, that salt does so much in rounding out sweet things. So it's funny, you don't think it makes sense to put salt in sweet things until you do it. And then you're like, yeah, it really does help everything taste better. Okay, so I'm going to put in just a tiny little bit of this fresh orange juice. Again, you could just squeeze an orange, but I already have it. And I believe it's a 1/2 teaspoon. So let me get that just a little bit. There we go. And then also we're going to be putting in a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So just a little bit more than last time. But you know what? It worked well there, so I'm going to trust them. I feel like at Serious Eats, they really do the work to make sure these recipes are good. So I thought this was a good one to adapt for this purpose to make these really delicious and creamy. And then the last thing is some sugar. 2 ounces of sugar. I'm just going to use some honey to sweeten it. I don't know, that's probably 2 teaspoons maybe. Just add a little bit of honey. And then I'm anxious to just taste this and see what this tastes like. Because if you put a bunch of good things together, it turns out in being one whole big good thing. Okay, let me taste it. Oh, it's very nice. I like the honey because the honey gives it a certain flavor that sugar doesn't do, and I actually think that will be great in here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to check to see if our other stuff has cooled down enough, and then put the mixture together, do a little bit of swirling to make it look pretty and delicious, and then we'll put them into little mounds and get them frozen so we can dip them in chocolate. All right, so we're ready to kind of put together the yogurt and the fruit and get it in the freezer to firm up. So the first thing I'm going to do is gently fold in the chopped raspberries. Now I know that those raspberries are going to lend some color because they're raspberries and they are very juicy. So I'm just going to gently fold them in, which means I'm just going to take care with the mixture. Lovely. And then I'm going to take the rest, and I kind of want to make a swirl. So I'm going to first swirl it on. All right. That is so good. Yum, 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 yum. And then I'm just going to swirl this into the mixture. And you know what? I will tell you, it's not swirling that great, so I'm just going to mix it because I also don't want that part to get too icy. So we're going to make these be pink. How about that? I should probably have done that first and then add the raspberries, but at the end of the day, hopefully everything will just be super yummy. So it makes a really pretty pink mixture. Let me show this to you. And I also want to taste it. Let me show you. Pretty. Let me give it a little taste. Oh, it tastes awesome. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we are going to be putting this on here so it can firm up. Let me get a spoon. I know I got a spoon here. Oh. Let me get a spoon. I'm just going to be making little mounds. I need to be advantageous, or I should say I need to be strategic. I don't have a ton of freezer space, so I'm going to use these little trays, and I have another little tray that I'll put in. I might just add a little bit more to these, just to make them a little bit bigger. It has a lot of fruit, so I'm just going to give this one just some more of the yogurt. All right, so I will tray up the rest of these. Let me show you how the first ones look. They're on parchment paper, and they're going to go in the freezer to firm up, and then we'll cover them in chocolate. Our fruit and yogurt clusters are almost frozen in the freezer, so we need to start getting the chocolate ready and melted so that we can dip and then be ready to enjoy our treat soon. So what I've done here is I put a bunch of chocolate chips in. I frankly had 3 different kinds of chocolate chips, all Ghirardelli, which is my favorite brand of chocolate. You can get whatever brand is your favorite. You could get bars and cut it yourself. I just like to have chips on handy to make cookies or other things. And so this is a mix of semi-sweet and 60% sweet chocolate. So darker chocolate. And then they all show having some coconut oil in there. And I do think part of the purpose of that is making it shiny and I think easier to, get good coverage when you're mixing it or when you're dipping. And I think the reason they do that is so that you get better coverage and a shinier gloss after you dip your frozen treats in there. So I'm going to use the microwave to get this warmed up. Okay, so the chocolate is all melted, and you do want this very melty because the one thing I noticed watching another YouTuber, Tina Young, try this recipe, or not the way I did it, but the whole frozen yogurt fruit cluster concept was, I think her chocolate, either, I can't remember if she put coconut oil in there, but it wasn't thin enough. And so what was happening is it was hardening too quick. She couldn't even get it to spread all around. And then even getting into it, like she tried to actually squish it and break it open like the person that she had seen do it did, and that didn't even work. It was just too thick. So we do want to get kind of a thin layer of chocolate here. So if we need to rewarm this at some point, we can do that. And I think we're gonna have to move pretty quick because we don't really want to get a ton of yogurt in here. I was gonna say ice cream. So I think quick is gonna be our best friend. So let me get one pan of our frozen yummies. And then my plan is to just put them right back on here once we've dipped them, so that, you know, they can go right back in the freezer. All right. Oh. Try to get that off. Okay. Let me just get these all off first so that that'll be easy once it's their turn. And this will also help keep them cool while they're waiting their turn. All right. So I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to use forks and get these fellas in. So I'm just going to drop it in, cover, and I'm going to get this guy out of here. Okay, so I'm just going to try to get out any of the extra chocolate. I mean, chocolate's a good thing, but we just want to kind of get some of the drippiness of it out. And then I'm going to put it right back in there. Okay, let's get our next one. Toss it in, flip it. Again, I think working fast is key. And also checking our chocolate, because these are going to chill our chocolate, so we might need to rewarm it for the next batch, which is probably what I'm going to do. Okay, get off any extra, put that in. All right, let's get our next one in. Flip it, turn it, and you can see you also want to make sure you have enough chocolate to be able to do this. I have no problem having extra chocolate at the end. I've been known to just spread it on a pan and just break it up and eat it like candy. Okay, so let's get this one here. There we go. Okay, I've rewarmed it. I'm just going to give it another little stir. One thing with chocolate you do want to be careful about is not burning it. So you always want to watch your chocolate, especially if you're doing it in the microwave, and make sure you don't burn it. Let me get out the frozen clusters that are left. By the way, I didn't get a chance to show them to you. Look how pretty they are. I'm just going to get these off of the parchment paper so they'll be easy to get off when I need to get them into the chocolate. This is much easier than if you had a bunch of chocolate covered things here, right? So it's good to think of these things ahead of time. All right, and now let's have at it. I'm going to do this side first. We're going to do the same method. I'm just going to toss, flip, and get it out. And I'm going to pay attention this time because I was getting cocky the other time. Okay, put that up. I'm flipping it upside down, so I just have to toss it once. Get it covered. Let's get this excess. Oh, my goodness, slippery little sucker. Okay, try to get the excess chocolate. Want to move quick. All right. And then let me get this one flipped. Flip over. Get some of the excess chocolate off. Okay. We have a lovely amount of chocolate left. I'll save that for later. Nothing like chocolate. I'm going to put these into the freezer. So they have just been in the freezer maybe 5 minutes after these were dipped. These were the first ones. And I just want to see if they're set. I want to see if I can break it apart like they show. So let me first try and see if I can break it apart. Like my girl Tina tried. Ooh! Well, it's not creamy, but I was able to break it. So that's good. Let me now taste it. That is delicious. So let me show you inside. First of all, it's got a nice top of chocolate there, which is lovely. It is a little icy. Meaning the texture. But it's Greek yogurt. I'm glad I put the cream in because I wonder if it would be even more if I didn't. These, they're cold. So they are a mess to eat. If you have kids, eat them outside so they can't like go put all their hands on the sofa and drapes. But they're tasty. Now, I did not do it just with yogurt, Greek yogurt, and fruit. I zhuzhed it up a bit. I'm using the adaptations from Serious Eats that they used for their popsicles. But these, I mean, I would serve these to adults, kids alike. They're good. Just messy. I love these. I don't know how healthy they are, and not even because of what I had put into it, but with the chocolate and the coconut oil, which nothing's like bad for you. It's all real ingredients. So it's not processed. But, you know, there's sugar. There's not a ton of sugar, but there's some sugar involved. And it is delicious, though. Very satisfying. A great cool treat. Just make sure you have plenty of napkins. 2 thumbs up. This is delicious, especially the way that I did it. And I think the tips with doing it with the chocolate, so you don't have them, so that you don't have the chocolate getting too hard on you, and you can actually split it. Now, you don't need to be able to split it like they do in the videos, but I was just doing that just to see because Tina Young was trying it. But these are delightful. I would serve these to company in a heartbeat with lots of napkins and wet wipes. So, Okay, the second thing we're remaking today are a version of the viral upside down puff pastry tarts that you're seeing all over the place. Sometimes you see sweet tarts, sometimes you're seeing them with a savory edge. And to be honest, I was kind of more intrigued by the savory components and trying that out in that fashion. So some of the things I thought that sounded really good together were prosciutto, which is a very thin sliced cured Italian ham, and Gruyere. And then I thought with the saltiness of the cheese and the saltiness of the ham, it'd be nice to break it up with a little heat. So my idea was to, once we take it out of the oven, drizzle it with some hot honey and then sprinkle it with some basil for some freshness. So that's what I'm gonna be trying today with this hack. And what I'm super excited about, as I mentioned earlier, is that I don't have to turn on my oven, because I don't know about y'all, but when I get my oven on, my kitchen gets warm, and since I live in the city in a small condo, everything gets warm, and it's summertime. So I have my Kasori air fryer heating up right now, which is what I use so often. I don't think this is ever going out of style because it's such a workhorse in my kitchen. I'm preheating it, and let's now get these tarts ready. So I've defrosted some puff pastry, which is the star of our show today. So I'm going to get that out in a minute, but we know that our puff pastry works best if it's really cold when it goes in the oven. So I'm going to take it out when I need it. But first, let's start getting some things assembled. So only 2 can go into the air fryer, which is the one thing that, you know, is a negative. However, I still feel like it's going to keep your kitchen cooler, and it does it in a quicker time. So I'm going to get 2 of them ready, and I'm going to get the stuff that goes on the bottom first because it's inverted. So the first thing I need to do is I need to grate some of this Gruyere. And my idea, oops, a chunk came off. Oh, well. I love Gruyere. I thought Gruyere would be perfect for this. It'd be a good counterpoint to the richness of the prosciutto. And it does have a nice little tang and nuttiness that I thought would be great. Let me just get it like a little bit more done. And another chunk came off, so I'm just gonna have to eat it. Oh, it's hard work in the test kitchen. Okay. That I think might be enough for us because these aren't big. If I need more, I can always grate it. All right. So there's our cheese. And then the ham. So the ham, you want to get sliced paper thin. Oh, our air fryer is ready. And then you ask them to put it on papers if they know they're going to do this for you already. But I actually had to train someone when I got this the other day because they'd never done it before. So I explained that they had to be so thin that you could see through it, and you had to put them on paper sheets so that I could get them off. So my idea, I have this already cut, this parchment paper ready to go into the oven, is I thought to put a little bit of cheese down and then put some after I put the ham, because I kind of wanted that cheese to hopefully brown, give some color to the top, and then put some cheese behind the prosciutto. So then I'm just going to kind of fold it there. You're almost like making just little puddles of prosciutto. Puddles of prosciutto. I think that's a thing. I'm going to keep it pretty thin. I don't want to have a hunk of prosciutto. It's very salty. A little goes a long way, and it's expensive. So it's nice to know that a little goes a long way. Here it's actually sticking to the paper. It's so thin. Let me see here. I don't know if there really was even much anything there. I'm actually going to add that tiny little bit to the first one because he did it so thin for me that it's almost non-existent. So we'll put that there. But truly, I think 2 normal slices will be fine. Just kind of fold it. The best thing to do with prosciutto, with any leftovers, is to crisp it up and then crumble it over top of salads. It's one of my favorite things to do if I'm not using it to wrap in melon. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. You see through. It's almost translucent. That's a really beautiful slice. And since I gave a little bit more to the other one, I feel like I have to give a little bit more to this one too. Make them even. All right. So I've got my prosciutto, and I'm going to put a little bit more Gruyere here. And again, I kind of don't want to overstuff this, because these are it's really going to be about the puff pastry too. But I do want there to be a cheesy element for sure. All right. Okay, so that looks about good. I think it's time for us to get our puff pastry out. So I'm going to move this ahead. Oh, before I do that, let's get our egg wash ready, because we'll be brushing that over top so that it gets to be very shiny and brown and beautiful. So we're just going to crack an egg in, add a little bit of water, and whisk it up. Add a touch of water. I always wondered why. I don't know if it's to help break it up a little bit, but it's one of those things I've always wondered. Do we have to have the water? Could we just do the egg? And I'm getting this all over the place. Look at that. A little orange puddle. I'll tidy that up. All right, so I'm just getting this. There we go, all set. Toss that in, and I've got my pastry brush there. Let me tidy up that orange puddle. And now let's get our puff pastry. All right, so I've got a sheet of puff pastry out that I defrosted actually on my counter for 20 minutes and put it in the fridge until I was ready for it. And here, I'm going to actually move it back. Do a little adjustment here. I'm going to need that knife. And then we're going to just open this up. I like to flip it out here. Get everything kind of pressed together. And then we're going to cut this into 4, I don't know if they said 4 pieces or 6 pieces. I'm just looking and thinking right now. Let's see. I feel like they said 4 pieces, but I think it's going to be 6. So maybe it's 6 pieces. I think it's 6 pieces. All right, that's what we're going to do. But I want to make this big enough. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like digressing because I'm just realizing that mine might be just a tad bit too wide. Let me just take a look. Okay, so if we did 3. Oh, that might work. Oh, wait, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go on this one. Try to cut it into 3 equal parts. Oh, I didn't do too badly with that. Estimating. Okay, let's see if that works. If I lay it over top. And then probably a rolling pin might help too. All right, let's give this a go. Okay, so I'm gonna lay it over top. And then I want to make sure I press down those edges. Meanwhile, I'm gonna take this and put this back in the fridge so it stays cold until we're ready to make more. That's a good tip. All right, so here we go. Let's put our knife out of the way. And then what I want to do is I want to press down the edges. Some people use a fork to crimp. I don't think that's super necessary. I think as long as you just pinch it down so that they stay. I also noticed that some people prick the top, probably to let some steam out. I think what I'll do is I'll prick one of them and I won't prick the other and see if we notice any difference. Okay, so I'm just pushing down these edges to help these be a little flatter and create this little rim. Again, you could use a fork. All right, I think that's good. And then I am going to try and prick the top of this. I'm going to do the one on the right. Again, I don't know if that's going to make a huge difference. Should I go all the way through in case steam escapes? We shall see. We'll test it out. That's what it's for, right? And then I'm just going to brush these over top with our egg wash. And that's going to make this beautiful and golden. These are great eggs. These are farm eggs. So they've got really, you know, orange yolks. So it makes it really pretty. There we go. Okay. Oh, good. All right. Let me show that to you. So these are ready to go in. You can see there. All right, let's get these in. I'm going to actually bring my air fryer part over basket so I can get them in carefully. Oh, it's nice and hot. And I'm going to be putting these in at, usually it'd be at 400. So we need to reduce that by 25. Now mine doesn't go in 5 increments, so I'm going to put it down to 370 and it'll be for about 10 minutes and we're going to check on it. Okay, the beeper just went off. Let's check these out. Well, these certainly don't look like the ones I saw. So let me flip these over and let's see what we got. Okay. So these really puffed up, which is what puff pastry does. And I'm going to now flip these over and see kind of what we have here. And let me move these. These are ready to go in the oven, but let me first flip these out onto this. Take these out. And actually, I'm just gonna do a little flip. See if we can get those out without much muss and fuss. Let's see. Okay, so we got a little cheesiness. So they smell good. They don't really look good, and so I'm got to try to figure that out. All right, so let me try to figure that out. I saw with the air fryer, you usually, as I said, adjust your temperatures accordingly. But let me see, and let me also try the fork method on there and see if that maybe helps these stay down a little bit. So let me put this back in so it can stay warm. Let's give that a try. So let's get ours that we had. I mean, I'm sure they'll be delicious, but they're just certainly not that pretty, are they? So I'm gonna try the fork method. Maybe that will help it stay down more. Which it really isn't, it's kind of lifting up, if I'm being honest. So let's see. Of course, this side's gonna, oh yeah, see, it still lifts up. It's kind of funny. It's not like it's gluing it down there or anything. All right, well, we'll give it a try. Maybe it'll help the sides not puff up as much too. Let's see here. We'll compare them at least. I don't notice any difference from making a steam hole, so I don't know that that's super important. So I think what we'll do now is just do the egg wash and get these in, and we'll check out how these did. Okay, get this one. All right, let's get this in and let's see how these look. Whoopsie, we'll see how these look in 10 minutes. It's beeped again, so let's check it out. All right, still quite puffy. I will say they look more evenly risen, not so askew like the first batch. So I think that the pressing of the fork is definitely a good idea. Let's take a look at these on the counter. So I'm going to do a similar thing. I can take this one off because it is no longer super hot. Let me get these out. And I'm going to transfer them in a similar way. Let's see how they look. Oh, no, they look better. These look, okay, so these at least look better. The other thing I'm noticing and wondering, they're not quite as brown as some of the other ones I've seen, so I'm also wondering if I should cook them longer. Like that's the other question I have. So while these were cooking, I thought of another thing to try to see how it would turn out. Now I know part of this hack is to do it the same way that everyone else did it, but for me, it's still not giving me what I was hoping it would give me, which is kind of that container that has the yumminess inside. So I thought, what if we kind of did it a more traditional way, and let's see how they turn out. It's really not that much harder. So we're going to take our 2 pieces of puff pastry dough that are left. And then what I'm going to do, and grab my knife, is we are just going to score them around the edges to make a border on these. I have a little crumb that went there. So I'm going to score them. I'm just making like a frame. You're not going to cut all the way through. You're going to cut most of the way through. So it almost like makes a picture frame around the edges. And then what we'll do is we'll keep the filling within those edges. And then the idea is the edges will puff up around the filling. So let me first show you what that looks like. So if you can see, I don't know if you can see the frame, how I scored all of the edges. So take a look at that. All right. And then we are going to prick the inside to prevent that from puffing up as much. So with just a fork, just give it a bunch of pokes. All right, so that should do. And then the other thing I thought of, because I did taste one of them because I was too curious, was that I felt like it needed a little something to really make the jam sing and the cheese sing, even with the hot honey on top. So I'm going to put a little bit of Dijon. Now this is a fancy Dijon called black currant Dijon mustard. You obviously don't need to use this, but I have it, so I just thought that might be interesting. I don't want to put too much because this is kind of powerful, and I don't want it to totally take over the flavors. Oops, that guy needs to stay. So I'm just going to spread this around in the middle part. So this is just going in the middle. I'm not going to lie, I love that it has a little bit of pink color. It just is a little more interesting than your average Dijon, which is actually why I bought it. I also thought it would make delicious salad dressings. Okay, and then we're going to do what we did before. We're going to lay the ham on and lay the cheese on. And I'm going to do, again, I'm going to put a little bit of cheese down below. And going to put more cheese on top. Okay, now let's get the ham on. And I think I've got just 4 slices left, so that's perfect. I'm going to try to keep it there. There we go. And then 2 more. These slices actually behave much better. Just kind of puddling it there. And 1 more. And then I'm going to put some more cheese on top. There we go. If you've never had prosciutto, you really need to try. It is absolutely delicious, melts in the mouth. All right, and then I'm going to put a little bit more Gruyere on top. Okay. I'm trying to stay away from the edges because the edges then we are going to be giving a bit of an egg wash because we still want those to be beautiful. I'll just put 1 more little piece there. Okay. And so we will take, oh, and I had to wash it because it fell. So I'm just going to now just go around the edges, that part that we made the frame of. Just going to go around the edges. And I'm going to cook this at the same temperature. I do also think I'm going to be watching it after 10, and I will leave it in a little longer if it seems like it could use just a little bit more time. So checking on that. So, you know, I know this goes against the hack, which is upside down, but you know what? I'm not getting that same result that I was seeing online, which is why I wanted to test this. Because, you know, sometimes we see these hacks and we think, oh, we're having friends over. Let's do this hack, and we've not tried it before. And so I'm not saying I couldn't get that if I did it. And also maybe it's my air fryer. I did see someone do it with the air fryer and it turned out, but that could be it. So now, here we go. We've framed them. I've put a little cheese on the bottom with some Dijon, the prosciutto, some cheese, egg wash around the edges. Let's get this in and give it a go. Okay, these are done. Let's take a peek. Ah, wow. Now, just between you and me, that looks much prettier, much more appetizing. Let's get these out of the oven. These were what I was hoping these would look like. Now, again, this is a savory one, so let me move these out here first and then talk a little bit about this. They're beautiful. I'm actually, you know, I was thinking about this when they were cooking. I'm going to put these in for a little longer on their flip side because I did read how one person that did it in the air fryer, they did do that. This, of course, this was 10 minutes and I did raise the temperature instead of 370 to 380. 10 minutes made those. But I'm going to just put these in for a few more minutes just to see if it helps brown them up at all. So this looks so much prettier. I'm not going to lie. What I like is that the cheese that was on top got crispy actually and light brown. And that's actually what I was hoping was going to happen on the bottom, but did not very much with the cheese. I also love that some of the top parts of the prosciutto got crispy, which is one of the things I was telling you is so great to do with leftover prosciutto is you can either do it in your oven or you can do it in a pan, crisp it up, and then let it cool and crumble it. It just makes a delicious salad topping or really anything topping. But you can see by scoring these edges, it made this lovely little boat. And these, to me, are more aesthetically pleasing, I'm not gonna lie. And I kind of want to have a bite of them a little sooner than the other ones. The other ones just didn't look that pretty to me, and I think that was my main problem. Now again, I'm using the savory ingredients, and there was nothing in here that had a lot of liquid like fruit, or I've seen with Vidalia onions, so that could have been the problem too. But just for versatility, I wanted to try it out and see, like, could it handle those ingredients. So when those come out of the oven, I'm going to plate these all up. And I'm going to drizzle them with hot honey, which is, I still think is a good idea. This, of course, has the additional Dijon mustard at the bottom. So let me get a plate. And we've got 3 there. So you know what, actually, I'm going to put the 3 different kinds on here and try that one separately. So I have my hot honey ready. Hot honey is all the rage, and I got mine at a nearby place that's wonderful outside of Philly called Peddler's Village, and they have a great honey place called Sticky Situations, and this is their habanero honey. And their honey comes, all of it comes looking like this, and it's quite thick. So it's, if you want to make it more runny, you want to put it over heat or put it in the microwave for just a little bit, and then it'll be able to drizzle. So this is all good to go. Oh, and I want to get some basil so that I can sprinkle some fresh basil over top. Okay, so I have my basil, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim it with scissors. Basil bruises really easily, and I'm just trimming it off in these nice little strips that'll be gorgeous to sprinkle over top of our Gruyere, prosciutto, and hot honey. Okay, let's take a look at these. They've been in for about 4 minutes at 380, and yes, so this, they look better, they look more brown, and this actually, if you're doing it the true upside down way, will give you a better result. So let's bring these over to the counter. Okay, so let's bring these over to the counter. We'll take those out. I have asbestos hands, so I'm just gonna go put these out right away. Ooh, they're a little toasty, aren't they? Woohoo! Okay. So, and I am going to bring this one actually back over here because I'm going to drizzle here and then plate them up. So you can see that giving the original ones an extra 4 minutes at 380. I'm not sure that the temperature matters much. 370 might have been just as good, but it enables it to just have a nicer look, a more appetizing look, to be honest. Got browner, crisper, all that kind of stuff. Still, the first ones we made where we just, where we just pushed down the sides, that's still misshapen. You can see that. So if I were doing these again, the inverted way, I would use a fork to press on the edges because it gave us a more consistent result. Although I still like the way the ones I did the more traditional way, just making a frame around and then pricking inside. I like how those look better. I think they look prettier. So what we're going to do next before we plate them up and try them is I'm going to be giving it a drizzle of some hot honey, and then I'm going to top it with some basil. So let's give some hot honey here. I love this stuff. And of course, if you are not a spicy person, you could just use regular honey, or you could leave this step off altogether. I'm gonna use every last bit because I love the hit of heat. And I think it really helps like give a really nice variety of flavors there. And then lastly, I'm going to be sprinkling these with basil. So let me get my sprinkles ready. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when I go sprinkling, it seems like nothing really behaves and does what it's supposed to do. So let's bring this over the plate and let's rearrange our sprinkles so they look better. I'm going to be putting the different types that we had with my my way of the traditional way being in the middle. Let's get some more basil here. Okay, so let me show that to you. Gruyere, prosciutto, hot honey, and fresh basil. And of course, on the one that I made the traditional way, I put a little Dijon there. So that's the one I'm going to try right now. So let's give that a go. I actually want to cut it in half so we can see the inside. Okay. Put this here. This is the one I did making the picture frame. Let me show you what that looks like. I don't know if you heard that crisp. My basil fell off, so I'm going to put a little basil on there. Let me give it a try. Well, this is delicious. The original ones I made, I did not put Dijon. I think I would add that. I think the Dijon, even if you did it inverted, you could add a little bit of the Dijon to the puff pastry. It might be easier to spread than flip it over top. That's what I would do at the end when you're covering it. It just adds, like, again, another bite, a level of bite. Dijon just has that nasal heat to it, which is so good. But then the heat of the habanero honey is outstanding. With the sweet and the crispy puff pastry, this is decadent. This, to me, would be such a great fancy appetizer to have. If I wanted to make it more bite-sized, I would make them in just squares instead of rectangles and do it that way. So delicious. I definitely give this my thumbs up. My thumb is a little in between for the inverted way. I just didn't feel like I got my bang for my buck with the look. Maybe with fruit, it turns out better. Everyone's looking lovely, but I don't know what they did to get to it looking that lovely. You know what I'm saying? So I will say scoring a frame just makes the whole thing easier. I have heard with the fruit, the benefit to flipping it is that the fruit doesn't make the puff pastry soggy. That I totally get. But I think if you're using other ingredients that don't have as much water, scoring first and doing them the regular way, I think you'll get better results. All right. Third, we're going to be making this a viral cucumber sweet pepper salad. Some people call it a snack, and it's one that Rachel Kirkconnell from The Bachelor had done, I think, just on a whim once in her home, and she shared it, and people went crazy for it. Now, I love a good salad, and I also get bored with salad, so I love hearing like new combinations. However, I will say there is definitely a lot of flavor going in on this, and I love the ginger dressings that they have at the Japanese restaurants where I get sushi, and also the places where they do hibachi. And I could just eat it every day. It's really one of my favorites. And so this is the second time getting this. I got it about a month ago, and I was just kind of disappointed because it is not like the ones at the restaurant. So the idea of using something where I could use up this dressing is a great thing for me. So let's give it a go. So it's super simple, and obviously just like any salad, you can add lots of other things to it. People talk about adding proteins, other vegetables just to make it even better, but I'm gonna make it the way she showed it and give it a try. So let me get these washed. And then I'm gonna get my sweet peppers. These are those little mini peppers they have at the grocery store. I'm gonna make it colorful, so make sure I've got some of all the different colors. I'll get some red ones, some yellow. Actually, I have two different color yellow ones, and that should be good. So we'll put those right there. I'm gonna get those rinsed off. All right, so let's get these chopping. And I'm just gonna take the little ends off, and then I'm just gonna get these chopped and into the salad. I mean, you know, you could chop it your favorite way, but I'm just gonna do a basic chop on these. Not too thin, actually. I actually want the texture. And in a good salad, you want it to have a good mouthfeel and not, I don't know, give you some some yums besides the flavor, so it can fill you up. Take that off. One of my favorite simple salads is one with cucumber and tomato and a sweet onion or red onion with just a little bit of oregano, olive oil, salt, pepper, and red wine vinegar. And that one never disappoints, especially in the summertime when the tomatoes are so good. Like I said, I kind of want to keep this chunky, so you feel like you're getting something. All right, let's get those in. And then we'll get these. Same thing, just kind of chopped up. Now, these fellas have seeds towards the top, so I'm going to get the slices done until I get to the seeds, and then I'm going to use a paring knife to help get around that, because I definitely don't want all these seeds in my salad. So let's get that. And this one is so squatty, it actually looks like it should be hot, but it isn't. Let's try it just to make sure. Nope, still sweet. Okay. All right, now I'm going to get a little paring knife to get the rest of this off. And so what you can do is you can just go around the top, take that out, and you can kind of go around in the middle and get those seeds. Now these seeds aren't hot like in hot peppers, but I really don't want the seeds in mine. So I am going to actually get these out. So let me do that. It's funny, as someone who's been around the block a while, I think for new cooks and new people in the kitchen, it's really helpful to kind of share the fact that you're going to come across this issue, because you might just have some people that think, well, she just was sitting there chopping these, I should just do the same, and then all of a sudden they're left with all these seeds in their salad and not really too happy with the result. So I think in our instant world, we can still add those tips, because it really is helpful for those that aren't as experienced in the kitchen to have better results, right? And isn't that what we want? So that everyone can enjoy cooking. All right, so all these lovely peppers are going to go with our cucumbers. And already, I gotta say, it just looks pretty, right? Lots of colors, eat a rainbow, all that good stuff. Looks nice, what could go wrong there? All right, let me tidy this up and let's make the dressing. Okay, so this is where things get a little murky. In the video, she's just literally adding seasoning, adding some of the dressings, and that's it. So we're gonna need to do the same and just hope for the best. But know that in any event, you can always adjust your seasonings to the amounts you make and to your personal taste. And already I'm gonna see that I need to get a spoon for my chili crisp. So let me get that. All right, so fun story. I am using today La Flor Everything Bagel Seasoning. Huge, huge container of it, because every time I go to Trader Joe's buy me, they're out of the bagels. Okay, so let's give this a shot. So she just literally sprinkles this over. Now we know this has all sorts of yummy stuff from the different seeds, and I can see not everything's getting out right now. To garlic and onion and poppy seeds, and there is salt in there, so I want to be mindful of that. So I'm going to just stop there because I could always add more. And then she uses the ginger dressing. Now, I do not like a salad that is way too overdressed, So I might be a little bit smaller in the amounts here, just for my personal preference. Okay. Yep, it's just normal. I think what I dislike about this that just doesn't make me sing is it does seem just extra salty. All right, and then lastly now this. Oh, let me just show you. This is my favorite. This I use all the time. It's Lagema's Spicy Chili Crisp. And there's all different kinds of chili crisp on the market. This is my personal favorite, but you can use whatever you have by you. And I'm just going to mix this up because I always feel like it needs a good mixing before I use it. Even the smell, oh my gosh, it's so delicious. All right, so just put a dollop on there. Just so much salt. I'm not gonna lie, that's my biggest concern. And I'll leave that there just in case I need anything of any of the other products. So now we're going to just do a mix. And I've got stuff falling out. I figured a big wide one would be a good one to use. So again, my biggest thing is I have a feeling this is going to be really salty, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, and is fine for you know, a side dish, and certainly would be flavorful. But I can always adjust that. But I want to at least make it true to what it looked like she was doing and how much she was putting in. And I had a couple of runaways, so let's get those back in there. And then we're going to give this a try. All right. Now, I know she finds this addictive, and I know that feeling. I mean, I've made things myself, frankly, with that chili crisp that I could just eat every day in huge amounts. All right. Let's give this a go. Let me get a fork. All right, so I want to make sure I get a pepper, and I want to make sure I get cucumber. Let's start there. Okay, so it's tasty. And I realized I didn't get a chance to really show it to you. So let me show it to you. There you go. Bite to give my true verdict. And I see some of the stuff is kind of all settling at the bottom. All this chili crisp and good seasonings. I want to make sure I get some of the good stuff. Okay. Let's see. I'm not gonna lie, it's tasty. I would love to know what the sodium is on that. I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but I'm wondering about that. The crunch of the vegetables is awesome. And what could just be very boring with cucumbers and sweet peppers definitely comes alive. It's not crazy spicy. Now, if you think about it, I put a spoonful that covered this whole salad. So that makes sense to me there. And it certainly makes this dressing taste a lot better, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of wondering about if you need all of this. There's so much flavor in there. I'm wondering, I actually have regular sesame seeds and poppy seeds and black sesame seeds. I could just add that and then add these, because I think these are the real powerhouse ones there, and save a little of the salt. So for any of you like me that need to watch their salt, that might be a good go-to. Leave this out if you have some of the, you know, these in your cabinet, maybe do that. And I bet you just these two would probably taste good. So I think for me, my takeaway is that these two together make a nice dressing. So get one more bite. And I will certainly say that the chili crisp elevates this dressing that has so far been very meh to me. So I'm very happy about that. I also wonder if you put furikake on it instead of this, that might kind of give you a nice little flavor profile as well and help save on the salt a little bit. So this is a thumbs up. I really was wanting to not like this, meaning just thinking this was just going to be way too much salt, way too much things. It's actually really tasty, but I will definitely try doing it just with these two and adding some of the seeds that I have from sesame seeds, different colors, and some poppy seeds, and see if I really miss the garlic, salt, and onion that's here, because there are those profile flavors in there. So I don't know that we definitely need those there. So I can let you know about that. But Rachel, pretty nice. I like it. I like it. Definitely this combination. All right, so the next thing we're going to make is this make-ahead mason jar noodles that you can put hot water in, and it makes an instant soup for you. Much better than the instant soups we can get at the grocery store. And this one intrigued me because, as I mentioned, being a teacher, I love great lunch ideas. And the idea that I could make these ahead of time, keep them in the fridge, and then bring them to school, only having to add hot water to give me some really yummy soup is an awesome idea. So the one thing she will say, I got this, by the way, from Nutrition by Kylie. She's on YouTube. She might be on some of the other social media also. And I believe she's a nutritionist. And she has a series of them. And this was, I think, the part 3 of her series. And one of the things she does say is whenever you make these, you make sure that you bring them out and let them come, get the chill off, come a little to room temperature before you add the hot water. And I think that's more, first off, for the stuff inside not to be super, super cold with the hot water competing against it, but also probably a little bit, I know these are ball jars, and they can withstand everything, but I just think it's just for a better final product. So I'm going to be making mine actually fresh and then adding the hot water so it'll already have the chill off. So let's get started. So for the reason this one really intrigued me, because she had, like I said, has many different varieties, because this one had gochujang on it, and gochujang is one of my favorite things. So, and I forgot to get a spoon, so let me get a long spoon and start this. Now, before we put the gochujang on, she says add better than bouillon. Now, I will tell you, you're going to put a protein in here. I was fully intending to have some chicken, but then I ate the last of the chicken yesterday, so it's going to have to be some pork. This is actually from some boneless pork loin I had the other day, so I just sliced it up to put it in. You could also put cooked shrimp in. You could put any protein, and if you were a vegetarian, you could also, put some, beans in there instead. Like, so you could do tofu, first of all, of course, but you could also do chickpeas. So anyways, and I'm just guesstimating, looking at her make this. By the way, this is one of the big jars. I'm guesstimating that she put probably about a teaspoon of the better than bouillon. I'm not sure. That's what's hard about all this, and I'm trying to think. I don't know if I looked to see if she had exact measurements, so I'm eyeballing this. And obviously, if you eyeball it, you'll want to adjust as you taste it and decide, I should have used more of that. So we have basically 1 teaspoon of better than bouillon, and then I'm going to do also a teaspoon of some soy sauce. So you can see we're adding some salty components to it. So I know this is not a teaspoon. No one get at me, but I'm just going to put what I think is probably about a teaspoon. There we go. And then 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon would be my guess that she put of the sesame oil. So I'm just going to guess, and I'm using this just so I don't put too much, not too much. Sesame oil a little goes a long way. And then the gochujang. So, and that I thought was more like a tablespoon, but now my spoon's all messy. So let me get this rinsed off. All right, so I'm guessing about a tablespoon. And this you can adjust based upon the heat levels you like. But I felt like the most of the flavoring was in the gochujang. So I'm going to use my finger to push it off because I don't want to miss anything. Yum. I just love this stuff. It is, whoopsie, it is so delicious. So many different flavors, and it does have a heat component. So the rest of the stuff, oh, well, let me get the ginger in. That's the other thing that needs to go in. Let me get a little fork. Now, of course, you could grate your own ginger. I always, and it's about, I would say about 1/2 teaspoon. For ease, I have this or the squeezable stuff. It just makes it quicker, easier, and so I use it more. So that's what I usually end up doing. I do have some fresh stuff frozen in my freezer if I feel like using my microplane, and sometimes I do. So that is all the flavoring that's going to add to the broth. Next, we're going to add some vegetables, and this is where you could mix it up. I'm just going to show you what she had showed. So she showed some purple cabbage. Now this is where I would like to go a little crazy because I love veg. To me, best thing to do is put a lot of veggies and things because then it fills you up. Get some of that in. And then she did bok choy. So I'm not going to add all of this bok choy, but I'm going to add a good amount of it. And you can just chunk it up. I've already washed it, by the way. I washed everything. So I'm going to put a bunch of that in there. I love bok choy. And then some edamame. So you don't have to put edamame in. I always keep some in the freezer. They're just great to add to different things, and they give you a protein element. So I'm adding just my frozen edamame right in there because, again, they will defrost and cook up really quick with the hot water. And then I was thinking, I'm not going to put any of this in there, but I got this the other day to make just kind of a chopped salad. And oh my goodness, you could just have this broccoli slaw, which gives you broccoli, red cabbage, and carrots. And that you could just throw in there for your vegetable. I mean, how easy would that be? So, but another day. So we have our broth flavorings. We have our vegetables. Next is going to go our protein. And this is going to be my dinner. So I probably would only add about this much protein if it was for lunch, but it's going to be dinner for me, so I'm just going to add all of it. And you can see I'm going to run out of room soon. And then you add your portion of noodles. And so that was the hardest part, actually. And these noodles, these are those rice noodles. The kind I get are from A Taste of Thai. And one package is 8 ounces, and this makes so many noodles. So I didn't know how much to tear off, so I just tore off what looked like a section like she had had. And now this is the hard part, is trying to shove all this in. All right, there we go. And when I tried to put the noodles back in the bag, I got all of these stray noodles in. And, you know, I don't want any noodle to feel like they're not honored in my life. So I'm going to try to get every last one of these in because why not, right? So these are all the noodle crumbs, so to speak, but they will be absolutely delicious. So she did not stuff hers as much as I'm stuffing mine. I'm just going to give you full transparency there. But I am making this for dinner, and I was just eyeballing, so, you know, what are you going to do? All right, so then if you were making this ahead, you would just put on your lid, twist, put that in the fridge to keep until you went to work. And then when you were at work, when you were ready to have lunch, you would get out of the fridge. I would say you'd want to have it out at least a half hour before, because I'm a teacher, the classes are like in 45-minute to 50-minute increments, so I would just get this out before my last class and then be ready to go to add hot water. Let me tidy up and let's try it. Okay, so I decided that it was probably going to be a better idea if I got this hot water in there and finished the tidying while it was steeping a little bit. So I'm going to open up my jar. I already have the water ready to go. And I'm just going to pour this over. And I'm trying to remember how full she got it. I don't really remember. I should have watched the video more. That seems like a good amount though. Let me just use my spoon that had the gochujang and see if I can get some of that down. Yeah, okay, that goes down. The main thing is you want the noodles to come into contact with the water so that they can absorb and soften and be delicious to eat. So let me just get those in. Yeah, okay. Let me just put these down. So that's all I'm doing. Get those fellas in. Come on, get happy. Get happy in your little hot tub. Okay. Now I'm gonna let it steep. So I'm just gonna return the lid back onto it. Let it steep there for a little bit, and I'll check back with you in a couple minutes. Okay, so it's been about 4 or 5 minutes, and let's check it out. Now be careful, because we did put a lot of hot liquid in there. I'm going to stir it first with my spoon. It looks like the noodles are fine. Now I just kind of want to mix it up, if that makes sense. I could use my chopsticks, but it's hard enough for me using chopsticks to eat, let alone as a total mixing tool. I know it sounds crazy, but as much as I've been using them, I still have a lot of practice. Okay, so let's see. My main thing is I want to get all those yummy flavors from down below up above, especially that gochujang. Like, I don't mind having a spicy hit down the bottom, but I don't want to miss out on my flavor up top. So I'll tell you right now, like, you want to spend, my opinion, some time like getting this all mixed, because you spent all that time with those yummy flavors. I don't know that I want to put this upside down, which would help mix it, but it's hot. I don't know. That just seems like a bad idea to me. So this is doing it. Just give yourself time. Just imagine that it's only helping all the flavors to mix, and it's helping everything kind of get throughout. The first time, just taste the broth. It's tasty. Now again, this is a quick make-ahead lunch. It has some heat. It doesn't have a lot of development of flavor, but it has some good flavors. Now let me give a try for, let me see here. It is a little interesting trying to eat this, you know, from the mouth of one of these jars. Let's give this a try. So it's very light. It's tasty. It is tasty. It's not, nah, we didn't cook the soup over the stove, so I'm looking at this with a critical eye. Is it great for a quick, easy lunch? Let me get a piece with some protein. Yes. The gochujang does so much, giving you a lot of complex flavors and heat. The pork is good. That's good in it. And chicken would be good. Shrimp would be good. Let me just taste the broth again, because I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I would add. It's interesting. The broth is actually tasting better the longer it's had to kind of get happy with everything. It's light, so the heat is great. So I think for the tablespoon of broth, I think that's spot on. I'm trying to think if there's anything more. I watch my salt, so I think it's plenty salty for me. Maybe I would use a little more ginger. Maybe I would actually put a little garlic in there too. That might help. I think green onions would be nice, because I think especially at the top, you know, they give you that pop of freshness. So 2 things right off the bat I might add for this particular one with the gochujang is some garlic and some green onions. But other than that, it's actually quite tasty. And I'm going to put this in a proper bowl. So since I'm home, you know what I love is the vegetables are cooked perfectly. I do not like a mushy vegetable. If you do, this is probably not the soup for you. That bok choy was absolutely outstanding. It was crisp, tender. It just took like the raw edge off of it. Crunchy. And the cabbage is exactly what you'd think. Carrots, shredded carrots would be great in there. The snow pea pods would be delicious. There's so many things you can do, and you can see with her different parts that she shows some different vegetables, some different flavor profiles. So I'm definitely going to check them out. I think in the winter and fall, having this instead of just a salad would be fabulous for me, especially as a teacher. Our lunches get very boring. I bring them from home each day, and I love the idea of this mixing up. I love the idea that this could be assembled ahead of time, and I can make a few of them and then just, you know, add some hot water at work. So this is something I'm definitely going to do once fall and winter hit. And stay tuned. So I actually am looking forward to kind of playing around with some of the different flavors. I was actually wondering what a little bit of tahini would be like, just to add like a different, I don't know, a little bit of richness and nuttiness to that. So that's, but anyways, so I digress. But this is definitely a thumbs up. Don't expect this to taste like a slow cooked soup. I think when I first had that hit of broth, I was kind of putting a more critical eye on it. This is soup that is instant and so much better. Hey, I love me an instant bulldog ramen and all that hot, yum. But this is so much healthier, and this is quite good. It's just fresher tasting. Like it has a great profile. So check this out. Check out her other versions. And yeah, this is a winner. Definitely a 2 thumbs up from me. And now, what you've been waiting for, what you have been looking so forward to, what are we going to do with the croissant? So before I talk about this last trend, I need to ask my foodie family, we okay? I mean, last I knew, a well-made croissant was one of the most perfect foods ever created. The flaky layers, the butteriness, the crisp shattering outside. Why are we desecrating and smushing and ruining these? To me, this is about as close to perfection as one could get. In fact, as Mary Poppins would say, practically perfect in every way. I think we need to move on from the croissant. In all seriousness, I love the creativity of the videos I see out there. It always stretches me. It always puts things outside the box. But I do think we could leave foods like the croissant alone, perhaps. I mean, what are we going to do next? Are we going to start attacking the macaron? Well, that's it. That concludes the end of the test kitchen for this session. I hope you enjoyed seeing me struggle through at times some of the recipes that have been going viral on TikTok and various social media. And please let me know what you are finding out there. And if some of the recipes that I shared, if you're enjoying them, maybe little tweaks you're making to them that make them even better. And as always, please like and subscribe and share, and let me know if you enjoy this kind of content and want more of it. So until we eat again, farewell from Philly.